Hey fam, welcome back. Tisha here, back with another Real Housewives of Atlanta review. This is season 16, episode 6, Peace Interrupted. Go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into my notes. For me, this episode, Angela, I know you're not watching it, but if you ever hear this, I gotta say you were my favorite. I do not understand how we went from last week with me calling you messy, with me feeling like you were kind of stirring the pot, to this week me feeling like you were a teeny bit messy, but I appreciated the mess because you are getting these storylines moving, number one. And number two, you're saying some of the things that I myself am thinking. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. I don't even remember if I said it. Like the video if you haven't done so already. Let's jump into my notes. Y'all got my phone right here. I want to play something for you. I was going to do it through my computer, but I ain't even going to do all that. We just going to come here and go through this. Hopefully StreamYard doesn't fail me because I was listening to something that I pre-recorded earlier and it sounds a hot mess. It does. Anyways, let's jump into it. So we begin the episode with production and Shamia. Shamia cannot believe how low Kenya went. We get a recap of the madness while all the ladies talk about how it was way too much. They even have a clip of Cynthia on confession or in confession, and she's saying that she's seen a lot of things throughout her years on this show, but this hit different because she held Kenya to a higher standard. I completely understand what Cynthia is saying. I don't understand though why, because of this situation, these two people who have been friends all of this time, who have worked very hard to maintain a friendship, now do not speak. If you know why, put it down below, but I think it's unfortunate. We'll talk more about that down below. So we get a flash on the screen that says it's 48 hours later since the whole situation happened. And we catch up with Brittany, who, even though it's been 48 hours, tells us she has not slept in 24 hours. I don't know if I'm believing that she hasn't gotten any sleep. Some may say, oh, it's obvious she hasn't gotten any sleep because if it was a thing where she did get some sleep, she would know the difference between 24 and 48. But part of me struggles with believing all that Brittany is saying because I've already seen instances, in my opinion, where Brittany has lied. And because of that, I don't quite know how to feel. But, we'll talk about it. So she fills us in on the many things that's been happening since Kenya did the crap that she did at her grand opening. She says that she's been getting calls and texts and DMs from multiple people, not just from friends, but from business partners and Kenya's minions. I don't know what was going on the net at this time, because for me, I think that some of the fans take it too far when you go as far as to DMing someone and telling them about themselves when they're on reality TV. I get you may put something in the comment section, but to me, it's never that deep, especially because at that time, you didn't even see Brit. You don't know what's going on with Brit. And even if you did, what Kenya did to me didn't warrant all of that. Like, Kenya didn't have to do all of that because of what Brit had done. Revenge P isn't right. Okay, I already said that. I already said I didn't agree with it. I think that she took it too low. I'm gonna say it again. Either way, she is struggling. Britt is. She says that it's caused a lot of damage, that she spent $250 on flowers just for Kenya to publicly humiliate her by showing her before and after pics of some of the work that she's done on her body, as well as images of her and intimate moments that happen with her ex. She talks about how she spoke into the mic in one of the pictures that Kenya revealed, and she admits that she made mistakes. Hold on, let me pause there. Kenya, I don't know what would possess you to show that. I have a lot of male friends, right? But at the end of the day, I would like to consider myself a girl's girl. And when it comes to situations like that, I often think of how I would feel if it were done to me. And I wouldn't be okay with it being done to me. So I don't feel like it's right to be done to someone else. I don't like Brit. I don't care for Brit, but I'm going to call it the way that I see it. And I feel like I cannot wrap my mind around the fact that Kenya did this and she's kind of still causing some issues in social media, making excuses for what she did. You can take ownership and say that you shouldn't have taken it this far and add to it that, you felt like you were pushed to your limit or whatever else. But it doesn't negate from the fact that you took it too far, right? I get why. No, I don't get why. I'm lying. I was about to say I get why you did what you did, but I don't, because I feel like there were many other things that you could have done to get back at this girl that did not involve you showing these pictures. Now, if you mentioned it in a group setting with the other ladies that are on the show, saying that you know that she did this, and did this, I could understand that. But for you to go as far as printing off copies and putting stuff on poster boards and having it in the corner to show at your grand opening, it's too much for me. So back to what I was saying. She let her ex film her and she did some webcam stuff, she says. She says she did it when she was younger. How young, I'm not sure. I know that Portia has said that it was when she was underage, but the way that Brit's talking, I don't really know if it was underage. I think she was just really young. Either way, doesn't excuse you showing it, right? But she said that she had it wiped, from the internet. Nothing is ever wiped from the internet. I have told my son this time and time again, that you need to realize that once you put something out there, it is forever out there. You can have all the money in the world that you want to. At some point, somebody who's really, really good can come around and find it. But Brit does say that, it's her past and she did mess up. Brit's husband agrees that the whole situation is messed up, that he can't believe that Kenya would do such a vile thing. Well, he doesn't say vile, I'm saying vile. Such a messed up thing at her own business that she dedicated to her daughter. Yeah, that makes it even worse. Brit talks about how she could lose her license over this. I don't ever see how someone showing your images in that manner could result in you losing your license. This isn't like you're, I don't know, a pastor or something like that. You're an insurance rep. I don't really feel like the board or whoever issued the license to you cares about past images of you, but I could be wrong. Y'all tell me what you think. Britt continues to by saying that she has been publicly shamed in front of the world and it shouldn't have happened. I do agree that she has been publicly shamed. I do agree that it shouldn't have happened. But my question is, why did you not ask production to leave some of this out? Because I know that they gave you the option of whether or not you would include this. I think that you could have told your story without it being aired. So maybe she allowed them to show it because it would, put things together. But I think we could have heard from the cast without seeing all of this. Just my thoughts. So she's crying and Mike does his version of comforting her, but it doesn't last long. It's only for like 5 seconds. Kelly comes over to be a good friend, to support her, to check on Britt. She has food. She has an IV specialist that comes in to give her vitamins. Kelly says that overall, she likes Kenya, but she's disappointed in Kenya's behavior and she doesn't get why she tore Britt down during her grand opening. None of us understand that. Kelly says that it was all bad while Britt continues to give this false narrative that Kenya has been poking at her from day one. I personally feel like that's a lie, and I'm going to keep saying it because even now in interviews on What Happens, Watch What Happens Live, she was saying that Kenya was mean to her from day one, and Kenya was poking with her from day one, and because of how Kenya was acting and how because Kenya was treating her, she was triggered. Y'all need to stop misusing the word triggered. Y'all use triggered just because you're upset. Upset and triggered are two completely different things, but whatever. The problem that I often have with Bravo's production, a lot of people's production, but Bravo's in particular, over the years and over the various shows, I feel like we can often tell who production likes versus who they don't like, because although I don't agree with what Kenya did, I also don't agree with what Britt said, but we aren't talking about that. We instead make it seem like we did an investigation, because this is what Andy said on Watch What Happens Live, is that they did an investigation and they found that she did not have a pistol at the venue. My question is, what point did you do the investigation? Because she's on camera saying, or on audio saying, that she always carries it and that she has it with her and things of that nature. So did you do the investigation that night, or did you just simply call her and take her word for it? Because it's obvious that she too has a problem with honesty. I'm just wondering. Y'all tell me what you think down below. So, end scene. We get to Shamia's house. Shamia has all the ladies over because she wants to have this lunch that's kind of like to create peace. I guess it was a peace episode because we know we had a peace brunch later with Kelly. Angela, Kelly, Portia, and Shamia's mother, as well as Drew, are there. Angela arrives with a fan. She lets us know that she is not going through premenopause. She's just the hottest in the room. I don't even see why this is something that they continue to talk about. At some point, ladies, hasn't happened to me yet, but I am 40, so I understand that at some point things will change, and I will have the change, and I will have what some people call a personal summer, is what I've heard people at work say as they're fanning themselves and things of that nature. Y'all are joking about it, but at some point it's going to happen to you, and I think it's a little insensitive. Now, she doesn't take it personally. Angela's pretty good about it, and I like that about her in this moment. Angela did not get on my nerves this episode. I actually enjoyed her. So the ladies talk about how the shocked they were with Kenya's behavior. Bottom line is they all think that Kenya went too far. Once again, because Britt didn't even give the ladies an opportunity to really say this. Bottom line is all of the ladies think that Kenya went too far, friends included. Kelly says, ooh, I'm typing something. Kelly says, she likes her, but she's not sure if she wants to be cool with her because she feels like what Kenya did was calculated. It was calculated. It wasn't like she just out of nowhere said anything. The girl got a private investigator. She said she was going to do it. She found out the information and she presented the information in an inappropriate manner. She shouldn't have even did all of that. It's not that deep. I do agree that it was calculated. I also feel like for Kelly to say that she's going to be done with Kenya, that's very easy for her to say because her and Kenya are just getting to know one another. But it's harder for people who she's actually formulated friendships with, work relationships, whatever, to just decide that, oh yeah, I'm going to cut her off and I'm not going to be cool with her. It's harder for real friends to make. Which brings me back to Cynthia, because I don't know what the reason is behind Cynthia not talking to her anymore. I have friends that have done things in the past that I may not have agreed with. As a result of that, they heard my mouth. I may have cut them off for some period. I may have held them at a distance a little bit. But I don't see myself in this situation, if one of my friends would have done this, being like, oh my God, I could never be your friend again. Now, I will go off on them. I definitely tell them about themselves. And it's okay if you all disagree with me. I just can't see myself with a solid friend who did this being like, oh no, I'm done with you forever. Kelly asks Portia if she would let her go. And Portia's kind of like, Portia doesn't really answer it there. But Portia tells us that if the situation happened to her and it was done to her, that she definitely would let it go. And I feel like let's be clear, it makes sense for anyone that this has been done to not want to deal with that person anymore whatsoever. I completely understand Britt saying that she doesn't want to be around Kenya. Now, I don't know how I feel about the unsafe thing, because both times both parties felt unsafe around each other for different reasons, but I could get that these two people don't need to be near each other. So Portia tells us if it was her, she'd be done. Shamia's mother tells them that, with them hanging around each other and with this friend group, one of the things that they have to understand is not to be so quick to cut each other down. I wonder if her mother knows what show this is, because they do a lot of cutting down on shows like this. So Angela asks Portia about the comments about Charles, and to her face, now Portia is claiming that it was a joke. She was like, I was just joking, but once I realized that you weren't taking it as a joke and you took it seriously, I said, never mind, I'm not going to do that. In my opinion, Portia has heard things. In my opinion, Portia chickened out in that moment. You know something, Portia, because you wouldn't have said it. You didn't say that about anybody else. You said that about her. So Drew arrives. She talks about court and how weird everything is between her and Ralph, because they are still staying in the same house. They are co-parenting, while Portia is upset because she's struggling because Simon won't even reach out to PJ. In my opinion, Portia is in La La Land, because Simon showed Portia very early on who Simon was. She says that her and Simon have a family and that PJ asked for him. She told Simon via text that PJ's been asking for him, and he didn't even respond. All she knows is that he did read the message because it shows that it was read. And the ladies are like, oh, why are y'all surprised by this? Then Portia does that whole thing again about how she felt safe with him, but the person that she's mourning isn't real. Duh. This is the problem that I have with Portia and all these other ladies that like to come up here and like to play victim. And I'm saying play victim because you were made aware of certain things about this man very early on. Your man was all over the internet going back and forth with his ex, with Fallon. He was dropping receipts. He was showing text messages. He was showing videos from the cameras at home. He was showing stuff where her assistant was coming in. He was showing a whole bunch of stuff in regards to that lady. That lady came out, and Portia, you can play coy and act like you don't know all you want to. You knew. That lady came out and said that he had stopped communicating with her children. So my question is, and I don't remember how long he was with Fallon. If you remember, put it down below. If he did that to her and her children, what makes Portia think that she's so special that he won't do the same thing to her? Right? And I say that because, ladies, I don't know what the guys, I can't speak, for you men, but for you ladies that deal with men, one of the things that I have learned over time is you learn a lot by a man by the way that he treats his ex. Now, I understand that certain situations make things different, but I will tell you that a man that shows his ex respect, a man that's not calling her all types of B's and doing all those other things, a man that isn't coming to the internet and spraying her and doing all that stuff, is a man that is going to show you some respect, hopefully. It's more of a chance of that than a man who's doing the polar opposite, which is what we saw Simon do. So Portia knew that this man had a problem. Portia saw all of his antics. So you sitting up here and be like, oh, woe is me, girl, I ain't buying it. So Portia claims that she wouldn't work things out with Simon anymore because he disrespected her mother by getting her mother involved, because what he did was he filed paperwork saying that Portia and her mother broke into his home or tried to break into his home. Here's the thing about this. First of all, you wouldn't work things out with Simon because Simon doesn't have the money that you thought that he had, number one. Number two, Him saying that your mother tried to or did break into his home isn't disrespecting your mama, it's speaking the truth. I don't have him going as far as saying that unless it's something that he witnessed on camera, right? Because I believe the way that your mama is and the way that you are and the way that you said that you still had items in the house and things of that nature, that your mama probably did come and do a drive-by with you when you called her to let her know that you saw Simon in the house with a whole bunch of girls. So I believe it. I don't think that it's not true. Y'all tell me if you believe it or not. So Portia says, PJ asks about Simon. She came in the bed and she's like, where's Simon? But she doesn't call him Simon. She calls him Papa. So she wanted to know, where is he? And, I told her that he's away at work. Drew is listening to this and she tells us that she gets it, but because of how her and Portia are, she can't really say things. Here's the thing. I understand that PJ probably formed a bond with Simon, but the good news is that PJ has a very present father in Dennis. So although she is losing her stepfather, I think that Portia, you need to be honest with her and let her know that mommy and Simon aren't going to be together anymore. Like, you have to tell her something. I'm not saying divulge everything, but at least let her know that, because you telling your daughter that he's on a business trip, no, that these kids aren't dumb. They are not. There's a lot of things that kids pick up on. One of the things I can say about my parents is when they got separated and everything else, they sat us down and had certain conversations with us so we understood what was going on, which made the transition more understandable. There's a lot of things that I did not know about my parents and their situation until like deep into adulthood. Like a couple weeks ago, I was hanging out with my mom and I was asking her some questions and I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Oh wow, I didn't know that, because they never included me in that business because they wanted to make sure that they protected us, right? All right, so back to this. So Kelly asked Drew if her and Portia could get along. Portia's like, you know what? I talked to Dennis. We're good. So as far as I'm concerned, Drew and I could coexist. Here's my thing. If that's the truth, then Portia, why are you now doing YouTube videos where you are saying that you think that this whole thing, this whole storyline with Drew and Dennis is a storyline, it's a plot and all these other things? If you are just going to coexist, then stop talking about each other. And don't go on YouTube and then create pages where you're doing all of this like you two haven't created storylines. We'll say that. So Kelly invites them to another event. They all agree to come. We see Kelly and her 17-year-old daughter, Chloe, and they're doing meditation and yoga together. After they are done, they have a conversation regarding a leaked story. Some of you all may disagree with me. I'm putting my disclaimer out now. It's okay. For those of you who are parents, tell me what you would do. Because for me, I'm a mother of a son who is now 18 years old. I've said this many times. Hold on, because somebody's playing loud music outside. Okay. I've said this many times. There are things that have gone on in my relationship with my child's father that he will never know. Right? I will answer certain questions. There have been times where he asked me certain questions and I directed him to his father because I feel like some things that he wants to know need to be explained via him. I am not okay with divulging things that to me shouldn't be a conversation between a child and a parent about another parent. I feel like children need to be children. And I understand we're in a day and age where we tell our children and have conversations with our children to a degree that our parents never did with us. I get it, because I myself talk to my son about things that my mother would never talk to me about. I've had conversations that my mother wasn't willing to have with me. right? Just about life in general. With that being said, I don't like the way that this scene kind of played out, because at some point you can't, I don't know. Things are different with social media. This is what happens when I go through things in my head and I'm talking to you guys. So Kelly is telling us that she's pissed off because this information has been leaked. The kids at some point may be able to see it. I don't know how I feel about it, because I don't see you just coming across this information unless you put in a name or something like that. I don't know. Because in some instances, maybe someone from the school can see something, or maybe someone at some point would send something. But the moment that you find this information out, sit down and talk to your kids, let them know the situation and move on. Don't send the link to your kid and tell her, do you want the article? This is the article. And then we see the kid, and the kid is most thing about is the picture that they put up of you, rather than the article itself, right? I feel like she could have let Chloe know what was going on, because Chloe is 17, without going as far as doing all of that. Because Chloe wasn't sitting there searching the web for her mom. I'm just saying. My opinion, tell me yours. So Kelly tells Chloe that her ex made statements saying that he's focused on the family and the girls, and she's irritated because she's trying to figure out since when he started doing that. Chloe can't understand why he's mentioning the girls anyway, she said, because even though we find out he was with her mother since she was 3, she feels like he does not care about her, that he doesn't even speak to her. This is what I want you to talk about. I don't want to hear about the article and what was said in the article about the situation. What I want to hear is, how has this situation affected your children? What did she see? Because you talked about her seeing you crying in the bathroom, and her, stepping in and making sure you were good and all those other things. What was your daughter aware of? If you want to bring that to television, because I understand, there's certain things don't need to be said. My point is, my major concern is, how has this affected the kids? So Chloe claims that she's fine and that she doesn't care. I don't believe that. She just knows that she doesn't want to end up like her mom. She's not even sure if she wants to get married. Kelly is shocked by the way that he went from caring so much about Chloe to not caring. I'm not surprised. I've seen this many a times. A man is interested in your other kid, not all of them, because we're not going to say all of them. But for some people, they're interested in your child until you are no longer with them. You find out who people really are once you're done. You just do. You do. And I feel like that is one of the reasons why, for me, I have always been particular about who I allow around my child, because I do not want my child to be connected to someone that isn't for them. And I think it does a disservice that this man was in this woman's life, or this child's life, since she was 2.5 or 3, and he has cut her completely off. How do you go from being involved to not? It means that your love for that child was always conditional. It was on the condition of how you were doing with her mom. I think that makes him a piss poor parent, piss poor man. So Kelly wants them to find healing things to do, and she's talking about meditation and all those other things. She's like, we don't necessarily have to do therapy. And Chloe's like, I'd rather do therapy. I'm over the whole meditation. Next scene, Drew. For Drew to be an actress, there's something about the way that she does her scenes sometimes that comes off as very inauthentic to me. Because she's sitting on the floor saying, I don't know what to pack. I don't know what not to pack. Drew, you told us that you have been leaving your house on the 1st, 3rd, and 5th weekend of every month. You mean to tell me that at this point, you don't have this down pack as to what you're going to be packing? You should already have a bag prepared to go. You should have this down to a science. So Drew speaks on how hard this is emotionally, how it's impacted the kids as her daughter isn't coming and listening to get her hair done. Her sister is there. Drew and the kids are eating their food. Ralph comes upstairs. Drew's like, oh. She acts shocked to see him because he's not supposed to be up there while she's there, but she's running behind time. She tells him that she has to talk about something. I don't know how I feel about this whole scene. I feel like part of me feels like he came up the stairs because they were filming. I'm just saying. And Drew, you acting all surprised about it. I don't know. I couldn't tell if he was mic'd up or what, but y'all knew at some point he was going to come up these stairs. We are then quickly reminded why these two people don't need to be together. So they talk about, she tells him that he needs to call the exterminator. He's like, this has been a problem for 3 weeks. Like, you were supposed to do that 3 weeks ago. But Drew's talking about how she has so much on her plate. And Ralph can't understand what she has on her plate. According to Ralph, he does everything. So he doesn't understand why Drew can't do something as simple as calling Terminex or whoever the exterminators are that he had to call. For me, I don't understand why you can't either. If you have some type of infestation, you're not going to sit there and wait on somebody else to take care of it. You're going to hurry up and try to nip that thing in the bud so that it doesn't progress. Now, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's ants or if it's a possum in there or a squirrel. I don't know what it is, but something's going on that they need to call people. So she tells him that her attorney said that Ralph needs to do it. Why? Why? I just don't get it. So they begin to go back and forth. He makes a statement that Drew doesn't pay any bills, and she leaves. While he's continuing to tell us that he pays everything. Does he? Because Drew tells us that you supposedly are trying to go after her for alimony and all those other things. If you pay everything, is that true? Like, the both of them lie so much and play games so much, I don't know what's what. So Drew and her sister talk about how he never comes upstairs. And I don't understand why he's coming upstairs. And he's just so difficult. Why would he do that now? He doesn't do that any other time. Drew, is your sister there? Does she live with you? Because how does she know what he does any other time? And whether he does it any other time or not, he did it this time. And you vacated. Okay, next. Shamia heads to the studio with RL from Next. We're told about, his producer credits like Luther Vandross and Jamie Foxx and Genuine. Now, Genuine still has it. I saw him live, last year, and the man can still sing. Like, the mic was on and the vocals were on, and his background vocalist, chef's kiss. Anyways, let me keep going. Angela arrives. They go to do some edits. RL and the other guy. So Angela brings up Portia. She's like, I'm so sorry. I felt so sorry for you, Shamia, and I just want to apologize because what Portia said. This is the messiness that I'm talking about Angela, but I appreciate it. She says, I'm sorry for how she acted at the dinner, basically acting like, that wasn't you when you played the song for us, Shamia, and Shamia didn't appreciate it either. She didn't appreciate that she was talking over it. She didn't appreciate that she was doing that so that people couldn't even hear it. She tells us she was hurt, especially because she's Portia's biggest cheerleader. Angela wants her feelings to be heard, right? She wants her to say something, but Shamia doesn't want to do it right now. She does admit that she's a people pleaser. Drew arrives. Shamia is asked to sing a song in confessionals. Shamia shows that her vocals are actually her vocals and she sounds like what was played, and she sings. She tells us that Portia should have known that it was her because she hits notes that Drew can't. That was a little shady, but it is what it is. It may be true. Maybe Shamia has more of a range. Not everybody is a soprano. Some people, they stay in alto tenor land. It just varies, okay? So Drew tells us she can understand why what happened with Portia, saying that they sounded like may have hurt her feelings because your music becomes your baby. And Shamia talks about how, doing this has given her confidence back, and working with RL has been, really good for her. And Drew says, that's how I feel about, me and Dennis, because it's helping me too. And then she says, the way that we got these royalty checks set up, it's going to pay for PJ's college. And Shamia's like, I do believe that that's already taken care of. Like, basically saying like Portia has it handled. Drew's like, okay, well, it's going to pay for her snacks. So Shamia's like, that's the problem with Drew. She does too much. I don't really think that was too much. I think that Drew was just trying to say that this could help with, put more money in the pocket. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't know how much money they're making off of producing this music, but I stay in my lane. So L comes out. We hear another song. The ladies listen to it. End scene. All right. Britt. Back to Britt. She's talking to her mom about what happened. We talk about how, because of this situation, one of her sisters and her haven't talked for months. We already know she had problems with the other one. They've been reaching out to her despite the family stuff. So she says, even though, my family has been going through things and this has been really dark for me with what Kenya has done, this has actually helped us a little bit and brought us a little closer together. They then start talking about, all the hate that she has to deal with. She just has to deal with so much hate. Brittany has been dealing with hate. I've been dealing with hate all my life. And, Mom, I'm so tired of all the hate. I just am. And her mother's like, yeah, I know, I that's why I say all this all the time, that these girls, that's what these girls do. I need anyone in the family, to assess this situation and realize that this was not hate. That some of Britt's problems are that Britt is delusional. Everyone is not hating on you. Here's the thing. Britt is a beautiful girl, but I don't think that this situation started out because Kenya was hating on her. I think it started out because you kept on trying to create a moment with Kenya, and Kenya got to the point where she doesn't like you because of what you kept trying to do. You are delusional, and you are so accustomed to playing the victim that you can't see that you were playing victim before this situation even happened, because how a comment about a ring turned into this is beyond me. So Britt says, Kenya's goal was to break me down. Her goal was to break me down, and tarnish my reputation by calling me an escort and a video hoe and an insurance fraud. But, I'm too classy. I'm too classy to go that low, Kenya. I'm not low like Kenya. When you go low, Kenya, I go high. It was better last week when I did that off camera. I got a little glimpse of the way I look. I know I look crazy, but I'm just saying. So you're saying you go, you don't go low. You're classy, but I'm sorry. Pistols aren't classy. Not the way you presented it. Saying you got whips aren't classy. You were making a threat. Now, whether or not you want to sit there and act like it happened or not, that's a whole nother thing. If Kenya did so much damage to you, there is such a thing as a court. Go file something. Sue her. Period. Because I'm here's the thing. I wouldn't even fault her for doing it, because Kenya took it too far. Now, Kenya could do whatever counterclaim she wants to do, but Kenya took it too far. I think I held my nose too long. All right, let's get to Shamia and Portia. So Shamia and Portia meet up to talk about Simon again. Her therapist recommended that because she was going through so much, that it was okay to go into self-perseverance mode. So she was just focused on herself, which is why she hadn't really been talking to Shamia. Whatever. So Shamia is hurt, but Shamia isn't going to confront her about the whole thing with the song because of all the things that she's going through with her divorce. She does say that they did talk after the event, but it doesn't seem like Shamia really was honest about how she felt about it. The subject of Dennis comes up. Portia says that Dennis told her that Drew wanted to film with him, but he didn't do it. Then production shows us that he lied, because 8 days after that whole scene, he did end up filming with Drew. Portia is telling us that she told him that she doesn't like it, but he wants her to say, do or don't do it, and she's not going to do that. She needs him to come to that conclusion on his own. Portia, I got to call you a liar because you are, hun. You don't know about the hot mic, I'm guessing, when this thing is happening, but we heard you on the mic warn him that he better not film with her or else. So don't sit here and act like you didn't do other things and say other things. You got a problem with it. So Portia says that, I'm just extra cautious and overprotective over my co-parenting relationship with Dennis. I can understand being cautious and protective. My only thing is I don't understand how him filming here and there with Drew in the studio causes problems. Now, if it's more than that, maybe I can get it, but not if they're truly working together. I don't see what the difference is between having a camera there for a couple of minutes versus what you yourself could do with him on camera. My opinion, tell me yours. So the ladies do the indoor golf. Portia wins. The subject of IVF comes up. We find out that Portia and Simon have embryos. Y'all. She's not going to deal with it till she gets the divorce. What in the world is wrong with Portia? Portia, this man tried to do the same exact things with you that he was beginning to do with Fallon. You allowed this man who has all of these children and all these moms to... Okay. I was going to go somewhere. My point is, they created an embryo. It's different. It's one thing to retrieve eggs. It's another thing to use his semen and combine them with those eggs to create an embryo, which means that all it needed was implantation. And even though he has all those kids, Portia wanted to have more with him. Portia was really in this thing. Do y'all think Portia really loves Simon? Y'all tell me down below. So, according to Portia, if she would just talk to him, all this stuff that he's doing online, all the things that we see him doing, it just wouldn't happen. Because right now, Simon wants to be a star. Portia, I have to disagree. As I said earlier, he showed that he was this person before you all got together. We saw him go back and forth online with his ex and tell things. So stop it. On to Kelly's brunch. I stopped writing at one point because I was like, I'm just going to play it and respond. So we had the whole peace lunch at Shamia's. And now we have the peace brunch sponsored by Kelly, right? This is Kelly's way to try and support her friend, she says. Paris is Kelly's stylist, and they're there to help Kelly. All the ladies arrive with the exception of Portia because she's sick. Oh, I think it was really cute, the whole lemon and putting the card holder in the lemon thing. The area looked beautiful. The table setup was nice. I loved looking at some of the ladies' outfits and things of that nature. I just feel like we just got to jump into it because I've been here way longer than I expected. So Portia calls, lets her know she does sound sick, that she's not there because she got sick from PJ. Kelly talks about the story in the paper to Shamia and Angela. She says, you know, her ex is out. I think I forgot to say that the girls didn't know. He owes over $10,000 in child support. He made one payment. It's been tough on her. I don't know if they're cutting things out. It's just the way that she'll tell us, you know, this story. And I feel like the ladies aren't asking enough questions. Like, I want them to ask more, but they're probably trying to respect her privacy because you can tell that she's still trying to protect her girls. I just don't, there's something with Kelly that's not gelling with me, even though I like Kelly. Y'all tell me what you think. So all the ladies are there because Drew comes as the last of the ladies, but then Britt comes. She's the last to arrive. She makes her grand entrance. As she sits down, she tells us that this ordeal has taken a toll on her mental, that every time she gets on social media, that she is reminded of what happened, and it can't be removed because it's on the internet. I mean, I agree. It can't. I'm just wondering how you scrubbed it the last time. Was it already out there? Do we not know? I don't know. So she said with all this stuff, her guard is up with the ladies, right? So Kelly doesn't help her guard because she says, you know, the ladies were able to talk to Kenya. I know Shamia talked to you. I know I talked to you, but the other ladies haven't talked to you. But the ladies were able to talk to Kenya. So maybe they need to hear like your feelings regarding the matter. The moment that Brittany hears this, her energy shifts because she cannot believe that those ladies would reach out to Kenya. She claims this is why she has up her wall, that she has to deal with this with her husband, her business, and her license. This is when Shamia says, yeah, she told me that she lost her insurance license. So she's like, yeah, I did. So Angela says, based on what? On what grounds? And I want to know on what grounds too, because it's not making sense. Okay, let me play this clip and I'm going to respond. Hopefully y'all can hear it because I don't got time to do it through computer.
dealing with a lot. I have to deal with this with my husband, business, my license,
Yeah. She mentioned to me yesterday that she lost her insurance license.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Based on what?
Right. What do you mean based off of what? Are you confused? What's been going on?
They said she accepted
Wait a minute.
Angela said based on what? Because Angela herself has a license and she understands that somebody making accusations about you being an insurance fraud or someone releasing images of you is not enough for them to take your license. They may do an investigation, but to take your license in 2 days is a drastic, or not 2 days, this quickly is a drastic step. So let's continue.
What do you mean based off of what?
Where's that energy coming from with me? I'm licensed as well. In order to lose a license, there has to be cause. What was the cause? That's the question I asked. Britt, to be honest, this ain't energy.
Today is for me.
How? It's always been
how?
She says, listen, today is for me. We know it's for you. They're trying to hear you out. You're the one who said that you lost your license. So, maybe you might want to reword it and say you're under investigation. But let's continue.
How?
This energy,
What's
this
the
is
energy?
a peace offering. You're not coming in peace. I just asked you a question of
You're not,
how
listen.
did you, on what cause? And you just ate me up.
I'll wait till you're done.
You just ate me up.
I'll wait
And you
till you're
failed
done.
to take responsibility for how we even got here.
You don't have.
You failed to take responsibility on how we even got here. Thank you, Angela. I don't agree with what Kenya did, but this is the part that a lot of people are forgetting or leaving out. Britt should have been suspended as well. She should have been suspended before Kenya was fired, suspended, whatever Kenya is, which at this point, because Kenya keeps running her mouth, she's about to be fired probably. But my point is, Britt should have been dealt with too, but production doesn't like Kenya. So because production doesn't like Kenya, because you got Portia online saying that she went to production too for Kenya. Because production doesn't like Kenya, they didn't take Kenya feeling uncomfortable with Britt seriously, right? But that too is an issue. Let's continue.
Read the room.
Why?
Read the room.
Why is she not here?
Read the room.
These ladies don't really have my back outside of my girl Kelly. They have been speaking to Kenya. They have been having her back. How do you guys expect me to feel?
Read the mother.
I'm reading the room.
You going off on Angela like Angela is the one who did something to you, telling her to read the mother effing room when Angela just wants to know what the real situation is. No, girl. Let's continue.
Whoa. I am reading the room.
Slow.
No, I'm not slow. You're slow because you like to throw rocks and hide your hands.
How am I hiding my hands?
You like to throw rocks and hide your hands, which is a lot of what happened. Once again, it does not negate that what Kenya did was wrong. So they're going back and forth. Shamia ends up asking the question again. She explains it differently this time. All right, so they switch seats, right? And then Shamia asks the question, how do you lose your license, right? So she's like this.
So this is what's going on. Because of all of the backlash and the defamation, I'm under an investigation with my insurance license. So you don't lose them immediately. It doesn't work that way.
Also,
So what was that,
I
Angela?
said I thought so.
Well, how
Angela says, I thought so because she knew that it was a lie, period. You first said that you lost your license to Shamia. Shamia repeated it as such and you agreed with it. So don't come back now and act like Angela was wrong for questioning the statement when she knew it didn't make any sense and now you're explaining it differently. So, they're going back and forth. She ends up asking Angela if she wants to twirl out. Drew is weak. Drew is like, twirl out. She's like, yes, twirl out. And she starts giving energy to Drew. And Drew's like, okay, so Kenya is here because we know Kenya is team twirl. Drew's like, look, because she's talking about how, basically Brit saying that she feels like they're taking her side, right? So Drew says, I feel like Kenya took it too far. But maybe it could get to a point where you both admit that you were wrong. Britt, says that she's already done that. I feel like Britt only did that because of production. I'm just being honest. And not that they made her, but because she knew that, let me not even say production. I'm not going to put it on production. Kelly told her she did too much, and so did her husband. So I think that's why she said something. So she says she doesn't feel safe, that the damage is done. Drew's like, at the end of the day, I hope it all works out for you. I hope it all works out for your business. Shamia's like, because the bells start ringing. I think we just need to move past all this and focus on the good. They all agree to move forward, and then they get to dancing to the electric slide and whatever else dances that they're doing. I didn't mean for this to be long. Sorry, it's all over the place. I think it is insane the way that Britt handled the ladies at this lunch. I think that she is not accustomed to having anyone not immediately coddle her, because it very much so seems like, based on the interaction that she had with her mother, that that's what she's accustomed to. But you all tell me your thoughts and opinions down below. If there's something that I missed that you want to talk about, put it in that section. Until next time.